Hey everyone, welcome to Clickheads. I'm Eddie the Chump, and today we're going to cover the just released patch notes for patch 1.03, as well as some recent tweets from Ziegler concerning some rank changes that are going to be made for higher level play, including a leaderboard type system for the Radiant tier. Additionally, Riot have just released this teaser video of what looks to be a dragon of some sort. Now, everyone has been losing their minds over this, and with good reason. Is this a new agent tease? Is it some thick lore? Or is it skins? Well, thanks to a known and respected source, player IGN on Twitter, we suspect that this is for a bundle of skins that were data mined a while ago. Now, it could be for more than just skins, perhaps it is for a whole bunch of additional content, like some actual story or even a new agent, but I think it's safe to assume the first thing we'll see related to this image is a skin set, which player IGN breaks down for us here. A Frenzy, Vandal, Operator, Judge, and Melee weapon. I hope they look as cool as the teaser image. Riot, take my money. With all that said, let's quickly break the notes down. There's not a huge amount of big meta changes in this one, actually, and I'll quickly read what Riot have to say about that. Easier reading this go around, the first patch of Rated Q is looking fairly stable thus far, so we've opted to keep our balance changes light in order to let the meta evolve naturally. Invest in Guardian stocks, as the weapon is beginning to find itself. These updates should help the weapon better carve its own gameplay niche as a heavy-hitting and affordable precision rifle. Also, Spike Rush lovers continue to get spoiled with yet another orb. The recently added surrender option gets a dedicated button to help cast your vote, and the vote threshold is changing for unrated to require only a majority vote, whereas competitive will still require a unanimous yes to surrender. You can also surrender sooner now for when it feels like your opponent has a 141 2/3% chance of winning. So with that general summary, let's dive into what exactly they have done to the Guardian. It has had its price reduced from 2,700 to 2,500, its rate of fire has been reduced from 6.5 to 4.75, its penetration power has increased from medium up to heavy, and its input Q has been updated from 0.083 up to a value of 0.1175. Riot added this. Up until now, the Guardian has lived in a strange position in the arsenal. Price-wise, it remained close to the premium rifles while not adequately competing with their power, making it too pricey as an alternative economic option, but not powerful enough to be considered as a premier weapon of choice. Its fast rate of fire made it more powerful in close-range situations than we'd like, given our goals for the weapon's long-range, precision-shot fantasy, and, despite its semi-automatic heavy-hitting firing style, it matched other rifles in terms of penetrating power. We hope these changes will sharpen the Guardian's identity as a long-range, versatile weapon, with its heavy penetration values and lower price, providing some more nuanced choice competition to the rifle category of the arsenal. So, are we in a Guardian meta now? Well, the price drop is welcome. It was simply too close to the other main rifles for it to be a viable choice a lot of the time. Reason being, most players would elect to forgo a tiny bit of utility and take a Vandal or Phantom than have that extra flash and only a Guardian to work with. It's still quite expensive at 2,500. For it to be a force buy option, it would need to be closer to other options like the Marshal and Spectre, so its role won't be changing that much in that regard. The rate of fire nerf is also a bit of a strange choice for me. I get why they've done it, but the perfect world conditions where the Guardian would be something a player actually chooses to use just got a bit stricter in my opinion. Yes, the Guardian has always been good at one-tap headshots across the map, but the close-range spamming of this gun will be very much not an option now. Its wallbang penetration being increased is a net positive, and it will function like a beefed-up sheriff, so if you know where an enemy is through a surface, say with recon arrows or drones, then killing them with a Guardian will be that much easier. But it's also had its spamming nerfed in another way that's not just the rate of fire, and that's its input Q time. This means if you really go ham on the trigger and oversample, you might find yourself locking the weapon up, as you'll technically be inputting faster than the gun can respond. As Riot put it, choosing the Guardian will be a nuanced choice, but I have to be honest, with how they see the fantasy of this weapon unfolding, are there many situations where picking a Marshal isn't just a better option? It's cheaper, still kills to the head, and has a scope. This is just my opinion, but I think the Guardian will see even less use than it did before because you can no longer spam it. Yes, the wall penetration upgrade is nice, but because of its nature, it's just not as versatile as other rifles, and crucially, it's still not cheap enough to be considered on a force or half buy. buy. Let me know how you feel about that in the comments. I suspect a lot of you feel the same way. Moving on, we have some map updates. On Haven, Riot have removed a spot where the spike was unable to be retrieved once dropped, which is good. Even if it's a niche occurrence, nobody likes to have the spike lost through no fault of their own. And on all maps, Riot have fixed multiple spots where players were able to clip inside level geometry. And they've also removed more locations where Sova's sensor arrow was able to go through walls. Now, this is all good housekeeping in general. Nobody likes to die to a player who's clipped through walls or got under the map. And Sova's arrows have always been a bit buggy. This is just the latest in a long line of fixes. Let's talk about Spike Rush next. The notes read, New Orb, Twin Hunters. Capturing this orb releases 2 hunting wolves to track down the 2 nearest enemies. From orb location, they will not change targets after spawning. The wolves speed up when they spot an enemy and dash at them when close, slowing and near sighting for 4 seconds upon impact. The wolves have 150 HP and can be damaged. The wolves will time out at 15 seconds or when their target is killed. And they've changed an orb location on split. The mid defender side orb has been moved into mid platform to make it slightly less defender favoured. Well, those wolves sound pretty nasty, to be fair. Slow and near sight? Yikes. Spike Rush has proved quite popular and I'm really happy that Riot are continuing to iterate on it. I don't play a lot of it myself, but I'm very glad for the people that do. Tell you what though, an agent who casts spectral wolves? That might be something I'd love to see. Next up, we've got a whole bunch of quality of life changes and bug fixes. The notes read, surrender changes, unrated mode requirements to pass changed from 100% to 80%. Competitive mode vote requirement to pass remains at 100%. You can now call surrender votes starting with round 5 versus round 8. And a new button in the in-game menu has been added to call a surrender vote. Riot added this. We know it can be at times challenging to get a surrender vote to pass, given it has historically required a unanimous vote. For unrated mode, which is meant to be lower stakes than competitive, no rank on the line, we have made adjustments so that if the vast majority of the team wants to surrender, 80% or 4 out of the 5, they can now opt out of that match and find a fairer fight sooner. For competitive mode, we plan to keep the vote requirement as unanimous because surrendering has an impact on your rank. All unplayed rounds count as lost credit. We want to make sure the team is in full agreement before a decision is made that will negatively impact a player's rank. We also slightly reduce the minimum rounds needed to be played so that if a player has a particularly bad start, they can opt out of the match earlier. Nothing but good stuff here. Round 8 was a bit long if you lost a player through disconnects and the like. Surrender features do just make bad experiences thankfully brief. Moving on, there's a whole list of minor changes which you can read for yourself in the notes linked in the description. I just want to single out one which players and tournament organisers have been asking for a while. Custom Games Tournament Mode. Custom games can now be set to tournament mode. This allows every player in the game to have access to the toggle match timer cheat in-game without having all the other cheats enabled. It also allows observers to be flagged as moderators, which grants them access to additional cheats that they can use as necessary. Regular observers cannot use cheats anymore. We'll be looking at expanding the list of moderator cheats in future patches. So a decent amount of esports concerns have been addressed here. Tournament mode will allow moderators greater powers while limiting player access to that cheat menu, which has caused problems in real tournaments before. There was an issue with players requiring access to the cheats menu for basic functions, but if they had a no-clip bind set, they could accidentally press it in the middle of an official game and zoom around, making a complete mockery of that particular round. The causal factor for that has now been removed, and hopefully this will allow the running of tournaments to be much more streamlined. Also, agent health bars are universally visible to observers, which is nice. The suite of observing tools is not anywhere near what pro casters and TOs would like, but it's getting better, and as Riot said, they're looking to expand what a moderator can do in future patches. Finally, for the patch notes, we've got a bunch of bug fixes. Fixed a cipher bug where traps that were placed such that they were on the inside of a doorway would not trigger when someone walked through them. They fixed an issue with the match timer hitching under unstable network conditions, and they fixed an issue where players couldn't jump off ascenders if jump was bound to the mouse wheel. They fixed some visual issues that could occur when reconnecting to the game while dead, and fixed a barrier phase announcement showing up in normal games for observers. They've also fixed various UI issues on observers' scoreboard. The cipher bug was particularly annoying, and I do have jump bound to mouse wheel, so I'm glad they've addressed that. Overall, a pretty light patch, but some stuff in there will make people happy. Speaking of which, we've known that a top 500 or leaderboard system has been requested for those elite players at Radiant level before. In a response to G2's Mixwell, Ziegler had this to say on the topic. We're working on plans for something like this, but we don't have an ETA. Definitely interested in giving players a chance to see who's the best of the best. This isn't the first time Riot have mentioned this, and I'm sure it won't be the last, but if I had to take into account everything, I would guess this system will come with the next act, which will be in just under a month's time at the earliest. Riot have spoken about the cadence of their content releases in quite a lot of detail in videos recently, so if you are a Radiant level player, this is the time frame I think is the most likely. There was also one more feature that Ziegler has hinted at on Twitter, which affects players who have been caught cheating. Aha! Justice! Ziegler said, "Heads up, our platform team has put in a new system which will be going live soon that will inform players if they have been banned and for what reason when they log in. If you're someone this affects, you'll receive a message that looks something like this with appropriate wording." So if you log in and see this screen or a variant of it, Riot are actually making you click "I understand," which I think is hilarious. But then again, if you do see this screen, good riddance. I would be way less polite than Riot is being. And that's about it for today. I really hope you enjoyed the video. If you like the content on this channel, please hit that subscribe button and click the bell icon so you get notified when we upload. Also, please check out our Facebook stream. We're no-lifing Valorant over there, and it would be great to see some of you in the chat. Until next time.